Welcome back, my friends. We are back in my kitchen because today I want to talk about something that is a big part of my life, and that is homestead meal planning. Now, you might ask, why is homestead meal planning different than any other kind of meal planning? And that is what we are going to talk about today. Well, if this is your first time here, my name is Brianna, and my husband Gray and I like to learn, practice, and teach our children traditional skills. Now, homestead meal planning is different than traditional meal planning in that we are dealing with what we are producing on our property, and if you are a homesteader like us that likes to store food long term, we're also dealing with a larger amount of inventory that we have to be aware of in order to work into the meal plan. It's very easy to waste food if you're not keeping the inventory that you have in your long-term food storage pantry at the forefront of your mind. And one way that we like to do that is to incorporate some of it into our meal plan each week. So today I would like to talk about why meal planning is so important, where to start, the elements of a good plan, and how to do it. So let's get started. Meal planning is really important for us because if I fail to meal plan each week, like I said, I can forget what I have out in my long-term food storage pantry and what needs to be used. It brings me personally a lot of peace to just think about it once and know what we're having. On the weeks that I fail to meal plan, I can have a lot of anxiety around dinner time because I have my kids saying, "Mom, what's for dinner?" And if I don't have a clear answer or I'm thinking of an answer, it's just extra friction and extra work that I don't want to have on a day-to-day basis. So I like to think about it once, get it up on our menu board, and when the question arises, I have an answer. And it also helps me be more thoughtful about keeping things fresh, so we're not eating one type of meal all one week. I'm really thinking about, okay, we've done a pasta, let's do a rice-based dish, let's do a steak and potatoes style dish, and it also helps food not go to waste. Now, you might be asking where to start. Well, I think traditional meal plans might start with the question, what do I want to eat this week? They go searching on Pinterest and think, oh, coconut curry sounds great. And then I'm gonna have stir fry, and they fill in the weeks with random food that sounds good. And that's a fun and great way to meal plan if you're just trying to keep things lively. But where I start, and where if you're a homesteader you might want to start, is what do I have? First, what's in the garden, because that is the biggest threat of going bad. What's in the garden, what's on the property, and then what do I have that needs to be used that's in my refrigerator that maybe I didn't use last week? Then what do I need to use that's in my long-term food storage pantry? And between those three levels of planning, you'll find that your weekly grocery shopping list is quite small. Because if you're utilizing what you have, you realize, especially if you are producing something and you have a considerable stockpile already, that there's a lot available to you. Here are the elements that I think you can implement that will help you have a really good plan. Number one is to know your schedule, right? I'm not going to plan to make a dinner that takes me a lot of time when we have a 4-H meeting and we're gonna be out around dinner time. I'm gonna opt for something that's really quick. I'm gonna grab a freezer meal. I'm gonna put something in the crock pot. Knowing your schedule ahead of time will aid you in success later, and it's a way to take care of yourself because you think, I've thought about dinner. It's already done and taken care of, and you're not scrambling last minute. If you plan these great meals and then you don't have time to make them, your plan's gonna fail. So number one is to know your schedule. Number two, what kind of meals are you going to focus on? So think about your dietary goals this week and how to achieve those goals. And so for me and our dietary goals, I like to keep things fresh. So I think about doing a pasta night, a pizza night, a salad night, And so that my family is not getting too bored, and it's providing a wide variety of foods to meet my children's nutritional needs, and it's more fun for me that way. But you might be on a special diet where your dietary goal looks like, I'm going to have meals that don't include any gluten, or I'm going to have meals that are dairy free. And so that would be the next step to having a successful plan. Number 3 is to use up everything fresh first and what you have. Number 4 is to make a list of only items that you need. And number 5 is to run to the store or the market 1 time per week max. This can be really challenging. I found that since my kids are getting bigger, they're wanting to eat way more, and things like fruit or milk can go really quickly. And so I try to plan to buy enough, and so try to go 1 time per week. And number 6 is stick to the plan. You might be tired and it's tempting to go get takeout. Well, if you have food at home, it's not only going to be good for your budget, but there are a lot of meals that you can get on the table way faster than ordering takeout. Another tip for meal planning is to eat together. So making separate meals for different members of your family can take a lot of time and complicate the meal planning process. So we make breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner, and we don't make special meals. Now, we do ask our children to try everything on their plate, but if they don't care for something, then that's appropriate. And I just try to make sure that each meal has enough of everything that they can walk away with full tummies, but I am not making separate meals. And so eating together as a family is really important in your Homestead meal plan. Another tip for Homestead meal planning is to simplify breakfast and lunch. Now, for breakfast and lunch, I'm not trying to recreate the wheel here. We keep things very simple. It looks like scrambled eggs, it looks like oatmeal toast, homemade granola with milk, things that are simple and I don't have to think about that much. And the same goes for lunch. Lunch is usually some kind of protein and something that is homemade because we're home, we homeschool. I can just make a meal unless we are out. And so again, that is planned for when I sit down to do the meal planning. But dinner's my time to have a little bit more fun, and I can come up with new recipes. I like to try a new recipe about once every week or every 2 weeks, just to keep myself motivated because I can get a little bit tired. Now, this last tip is my absolute favorite, and if you're my friend in real life, you've heard me rave about this because I think the Notes app in your phone, if you have an iPhone or if you have a similar app, if you have an Android, it has helped me so much in my meal planning. Now, let me show you what I do, okay? So this is what I do. I have my Notes app, right? I have 2 notes that help me with my meal planning. Number 1 is an ongoing list of what I call the tried and true dinner rotation. Okay, so when I go into the tried and true dinner rotation, these are my go-tos, and I have, I don't know how many, but I have a good variety there that if I just did a meal from that rotation every single day, I would not be doing a lot of repeats. These are things my family loves and are easy for me to make. I don't even need the recipe for them. And I keep them here. Now, the reason that when I sit down to do my weekly meal planning, this is really helpful, is that even though I have a list in my head, for some reason, before I started doing this, I couldn't think of like what to make for dinner. I was like, okay, spaghetti, you know, my mind would draw a blank, but I can just refer to this list. So about 5 to 6 of the meals that I make pull from this list. And then I save 1 or 2 spaces to go find a new recipe because that's fun for me. So you have the tried and true, which helps your brain to pull from things that you've used. So if I tried a new recipe and everybody loves it, it goes in the tried and true. Okay, so then the next note that I use for my dinner plan is the one, and it's an ongoing note. I just keep erasing it and reusing it. It says this week's meal plan. And under this week's meal plan, at the very top, I like to put Monday through Sunday and what the meals I pulled from my tried and true. And then I put the ingredients needed. It's a very small list. In order to fill in the gaps, of my meal plan, okay? Another helpful tip in that same note is that I just keep a little list that doesn't change of lunch and breakfast. So using the notes can work for anybody doing meal planning, but for me, as a busy mom, my brain is everywhere. It's so nice to have all the meals I've ever made that my family likes in one place. So I hope that that's helpful. I used to paper meal plan, but now I'm all about the Notes app for meal planning. So if you have any questions or contributions in how homestead meal planning is different, or tips that you use to avoid food waste and to use what you're producing on your property, I would love to hear about them. Please leave them in the comments below, and I will see you next time.